Story 17. I stayed in a motel that wasn't on the map. I was on a solo road trip through the Midwest. No GPS signal, phone dying, and the only thing for miles was a glowing vacancy sign flickering red in the fog. The motel wasn't on any map, no address, no phone number, but I was exhausted and it looked open. Welcome in, the sign said. Just 2 floors, empty parking lot, and something about the air around it felt still, like it had been preserved in a jar. Inside, the front desk was empty. Bell on the counter, dust on everything, old wallpaper curling at the corners. I was about to turn around when a voice behind me said, "You want room 7, it's waiting." I jumped. There was a man in a bellhop uniform, gray, outdated, like from the 40s. He handed me a rusted key. Not a card. A key. No ID, no payment. Just said, "Don't look in the mirror after 3 a.m. and keep the curtains closed." Then he walked away into a hallway that didn't seem to exist a second earlier. Room 7 was freezing, like the heat had never worked. Everything inside was ancient. Tube TV, floral bedspread, rotary phone. There was a Bible in the drawer, but every page had been blacked out with ink. The bathroom mirror was covered with a thick velvet cloth nailed at the corners, and across the ceiling were faint handprints, hundreds of them. I told myself to sleep, that I was tired, that weird was better than stranded. But at 3:14 a.m. I woke up cold. The TV was on, static blaring, and the velvet cloth was on the floor. The mirror was exposed, and in it was my room. But not me. A man in my shirt sitting on the edge of my bed, staring at the glass with black, empty eyes. He wasn't breathing. He wasn't blinking. He just stared. Then he slowly smiled, and his smile didn't match mine. I ran, grabbed my bag, and ran for the car. But outside, it was daylight, clear sky, birds chirping, like nothing had happened, except my phone still had no signal. And when I looked back, the motel wasn't there. Just grass, like it had never existed. But that night at home, when I looked in my bathroom mirror, he was standing behind me, only visible in the reflection. And he's getting closer. Story 18, the apartment that only shows up at night. I was walking home from work, late, around 2 a.m. Streets were empty, just the hum of streetlights and the echo of my own footsteps. That's when I saw it. An apartment building that hadn't been there before, 5 stories tall, red brick, pale windows, but every light was off except one window glowing, faint yellow, 5th floor. I stopped. I walk this street every night. There's never been a building here, just a fenced-off lot and a condemned warehouse. But now, this thing stood there like it had always existed, and in that glowing 5th floor window, I swear I saw someone wave. I should have kept walking, but something pulled me toward it. The front door was cracked open, just a sliver, and the inside smelled like old books and wet concrete. I stepped in. The lobby had no furniture, just black and white photos on every wall, hundreds of them. People staring straight into the lens, no smiles, no names, just dates carved into the frames, all of them from different decades. 1921, 1973, 2004, yesterday. And then one with my face, today's date. I turned around, the front door was gone. Behind me now, just a hallway. No exits, dimly lit. Old carpet torn in places, doors with peeling numbers, 1, 2, 3. I didn't want to, but I climbed the stairs. By the time I reached the 5th floor, the air was thick, hard to breathe, like the hallway was underwater. Only one door had light underneath. Apartment 5F. I knocked once, silence, knocked again, and then I heard it. A whisper from inside. "Come in." I didn't move, didn't touch the knob, but the door opened anyway. And there, sitting in a chair by the window, was an old woman. Hair long, white, drifting like smoke. She was staring out at nothing. She didn't look at me when she said, "You're not the first, you won't be the last. It always calls the tired ones home." Then she stood and pointed to a second door. In the wall, one that hadn't been there a second ago. I stepped through, and now I don't remember my old apartment, I don't remember my job, or where I lived, but every night, I waved down from the glowing 5th floor window, hoping someone sees me, hoping someone walks by, so I can leave, so I can go home again, if I even had one. Let me know the playground that wasn't there yesterday. I take my dog on the same route every morning, around the block, past the school, through the park. Routine, safe, familiar. But yesterday morning, there was a new playground, where there used to be a construction lot. It looked brand new. Red slides, swings that creaked gently even though there was no wind. A merry-go-round turning slowly on its own. No kids, no parents, no construction signs. Just a wooden sign above the gate. Welcome to borrowed play. My dog didn't want to go near it. He stopped cold, tail tucked, and whimpered. But something about the playground drew me in. The colors looked off somehow. Too vibrant, too perfect, like a cartoon made real. And I swear, I could hear faint giggling, soft, far away, but no one was there. I walked closer. The slide was covered in tiny handprints, sticky, like syrup. The swing chains were warm, as if they'd just been used, and beneath the merry-go-round, I saw a small red shoe, old, half buried in dirt. When I picked it up, I saw my last name written inside it. I don't have kids. I backed away. Fast. My dog still wouldn't move, eyes locked on something in the sandbox. I turned. There were footprints leading out of it, but no one's going in. Child-sized, bare feet, trailing toward. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing music. Faint carnival tunes like a music box being drowned, coming from the direction of the park. This morning, I went back, and the playground, it's gone. No sign it was ever there, just an empty lot, weeds and concrete, but in the center of it was the shoe, placed neatly in the dirt, facing my house. And now, every night at 3 a.m., I hear tiny footsteps running outside my window, laughing, waiting, ready for Story 20 when you are. We're building something 20, the man who lives in channel 84. When I was a kid, my parents didn't pay for cable. We had basic channels, a handful of news, cartoons, static, but there was one channel I was never supposed to watch. Channel 84. It didn't show up in the guide, just a black screen, no signal. But if you turned to it late enough, after 2 a.m., it changed. Sometimes I'd get flashes, old commercials, grainy home videos, static cut with screaming, and sometimes there'd be a man. No host, no music, just a guy in a gray suit, standing in a bare, colorless room. He never moved, never blinked. He just stared like he was waiting. I only saw him once, but I never forgot his eyes. They were too real for the TV, like he wasn't being filmed. He was looking out. I told my parents. They didn't believe me, so I stopped mentioning Channel 84. But sometimes at night, when I was trying to sleep, the screen on our old living room TV would glow, even if it was unplugged. I'm older now, different city, different apartment, streaming everything, no cable. But last week, during a power outage, my smart TV rebooted, and Channel 84 appeared in the corner, right where it used to be. Out of curiosity, I clicked it, static. Then, him, the man in the gray suit, but this time, he spoke. I've been waiting. Then the screen flashed, old footage, my childhood bedroom, me, 10 years old, sitting on the carpet in my pajamas, watching TV. Except, I was never filmed. I never owned a camera. That footage should not exist. But it got worse. It started playing things I've never lived through. Me, grown up, walking down a hallway I didn't recognize. Me, screaming behind a door I couldn't open. Me, trying to shut off a TV that wouldn't power down. Then the man came back, closer now. He whispered, "Your broadcast begins soon." The screen went black, and now every night my TV turns itself on at 2 a.m., even when it's unplugged, even when I'm not home. Channel 84 always plays, always him. And last night, I wasn't in bed when I woke up. I was standing in front of my TV, in a gray suit, staring, smiling. Story 21, the disappearance of level B3. I used to work in a government building. I won't say where, doesn't matter. Big gray structure, too many lights, too little purpose. But there was one thing that never made sense, level B3. No one talked about it. No one went down there. And officially, according to every map, blueprint, and directory, it didn't exist. But I saw it. It started during a routine audit. My job was boring, just checking ID badges and making sure floor access matched personnel clearance. Every floor had a code. B1, maintenance. B2, records and archives. B3, just a space on the sheet. One day, a man tried to badge through the elevator. Tall, gray hair, glasses. Badge said, level B3 clearance. I stopped him. "Sir, there is no B3. He just smiled and said, "There is. You just don't work here long enough yet." I looked up his ID, no digital record, no name, no photo in the personnel database. So I pulled security footage from that elevator. There he was, except the moment the doors shut, the video cut out. Not glitched, not corrupted, just cut. like someone edited it mid-frame. I brought it to my supervisor. She glanced at it, nodded, and said, "You didn't see that, delete the file. Go home early." Then she closed the door and locked it behind me. I didn't go home, I waited. Late that night, I returned, used a backdoor badge, walked down to B2, and there it was. The door to B3. Unlabeled, unpainted, metal, heavy, with a numeric keypad and no handle. I pressed my ear against it. Silence, then scratching. I walked away, fast, but the next day things changed. My clearance was bumped up. New badge, no explanation, this threat. I was told to monitor level B2 storage hall. But every task they gave me involved rerouting crates to B3. Crates with no markings, no paperwork, just one label stamped on the side in thick red ink, returned. A week later, I found out about Robert Ellis, janitor, worked nights, disappeared. No news, no inquiry. But I found his name buried in the logs. Last task, clean spill on B2 near freight shaft to B3. Nothing else. I checked the shaft, it was sealed, but the padlock was melted from the inside. I told my coworker Angela she'd worked there 10 years. When I asked about Robert, she turned white, then whispered, "Do not ask about B3. Do not say it aloud again." I said I had to know. She said, "You don't find B3. It finds you." I started having dreams, always the same. I'm standing in a long hallway, identical doors on either side and fluorescent lights above me, buzzing. One door opens, inside, darkness, and I feel watched. Not by eyes, but something deeper, like the building itself had a pulse. Then I woke up, always at 3:33 a.m. The same time my work phone would buzz with a blank notification. No sender, no message, just a timestamp. Welcome to B3. Last week, the elevator skipped a floor. I was alone, supposed to go to B2, but the elevator descended farther than it ever had. The display read, B3. The doors opened. It looked like a mirror of the upper levels, but everything was wrong. Flickering lights, filing cabinets with teeth marks, security cameras that turned to face me. I heard footsteps, not behind me, above me, like someone crawling in the ceiling. I turned back, but the elevator was gone. Just a blank wall. I ran. I heard whispers coming from the vents, old voices, some crying, others laughing, and that scratching, always that scratching. I found a door at the end of a hallway labeled Level B3, Department of Return Logistics. Inside were rows of desks, old CRT monitors. No people. Every monitor displayed a still image, not files, not blueprints, but faces. Thousands of them, all staring directly into the camera. And one of the faces was mine. I screamed, tried to find the elevator. When I did, it wasn't mine. The buttons were in a different language, none I recognized. The walls were soft to the touch, like skin, but I pressed the only button I could understand, exit. When I woke up, I was in my car, in the parking garage, badge still on. 3 days had passed. No one mentioned it. But now when I walk the halls, people avoid me. Doors lock when I pass, and my clearance? It's been updated again. Level B4, which doesn't exist. Not yet. Say the man who sat outside my apartment every night. I noticed him for the first time on a Tuesday. He was just sitting there on the bench across the street from my apartment. Middle-aged, bald, wearing an old gray coat that looked about 2 sizes too big. He wasn't doing anything. Not smoking, not on his phone. Sitting. Hands folded, eyes forward, facing my window. I live on the 3rd floor of a 5-story apartment building in a busy city, so people sitting outside isn't that strange. But something about this man made me feel watched. It's hard to describe. It was like he wasn't just looking at my window. It was like he was waiting for it to move. He was still there when I went to bed. Still there the next night, and the next. Always the same posture, same coat, same time, 8 p.m. to exactly 3:12 a.m. I told myself it wasn't a big deal, probably homeless, maybe mentally ill, but that didn't explain what happened next. On Friday, I stayed up late scrolling on my phone. Around 1 a.m., I turned off the light but left my curtains slightly open, and when I peeked out, he wasn't on the bench. I waited. Maybe he left early? Then I noticed something strange. The bench was still casting a shadow, a human-shaped shadow, but no one was sitting on it. I shut the curtain and tried to calm down. My heart was pounding. It didn't make sense. I turned the lights back on. Then there was a knock at my door. I live alone, no roommates, no visitors, and this knock wasn't normal. It was slow, evenly spaced. One knock, Pause. 2 knocks. Pause. 3. Then silence. I didn't open it. I checked the peephole. No one. But when I opened the door out of dumb curiosity, there was something on the floor. A folded piece of newspaper. I opened it up. It was a single page from a classified section. Circled in red pen was an ad. Available, 3rd floor apartment, full view of bench. Must be vacated before 3:12 a.m. I moved backwards so fast I hit my table. My phone rang. Private number. I answered it. Voice whispered, "The bench has seen too much." That night, I didn't sleep. When I checked again around 3 a.m., the man was back on the bench. Only now, he was smiling. Big. Wide. Unnatural, like his cheeks were tearing from the effort, and he was holding something in his lap. Binoculars. I moved out the next morning. Didn't give notice. Didn't pack everything. Just left. But I had to know. A week later, I drove past the old apartment. There was a moving truck out front. New tenants. And guess who was sitting on the bench? Only this time there were 2 people beside him. Same posture, same expression, eyes fixed on the 3rd floor window. I don't think they're watching the people. I think they're waiting for something to move. And if you ever see someone outside your window sitting too still for too long, don't stare back. They're not trying to catch your eye. They're trying to take it.